Good morning, everyone. It can be a struggle. I know getting kids to be active is a critical part of their health, but with video games, TV, and those devices, some children may not be motivated to get enough physical activity every day. In Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has 4 simple ways to get kids to move a little more.
60 minutes every day. That's how much physical activity is recommended for kids and teens between the ages of 6 and 17. It may seem like a lot, but it doesn't have to be all at once.
We know kids do better in school, they sleep better, their mood's better, and it can just be a lot of fun to move.
Dr. Adam Keating with Cleveland Clinic says some kids may be motivated to move through sports, but others may need a little help. His first tip, to remember there are different ways to keep kids active.
Everything from going on a family walk, to walking the dog, to vacuuming, to having a dance party in the middle of your living room.
Playing on a playground or PE at school also counts as physical activity time. Keating says it's also important to be a good role model.
Kids want to spend time with their parents, whether they say so or not. And so being a good example and joining in the activity with the kids generally makes it much more rewarding for everybody.
While it's important to limit screens, Keating says offer that screen time as a reward for physical activity.
The child can earn another 30 minutes of screen time by doing 30 minutes of activity.
Finally, find activities they enjoy. It can be a variety of things so the child doesn't get bored.
Making it fun rather than a chore, and finding different creative ways to be able to work some physical activity in the day can be helpful.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
He says chores can also be a physical activity. Choose ones that are appropriate, of course, for your child. For example, raking leaves, cleaning their room, or washing the car. All of these things can get them moving again. When a 2-month-old with a rare infection began losing her hearing, her parents had just days to decide how to treat it. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield has this story for us from Minnesota.
The excitement of bringing baby Diana home was quickly muted for parents Crystal and Justin Strom.
Getting rushed to the NICU at 3 days old is terrifying and terrible.
Diana had spiked a fever and wasn't eating. She was facing several challenges: seizures, bacterial meningitis, and hydrocephalus, which is a buildup of fluid in the brain. Over the next 6 weeks at Children's Minnesota Hospital, doctors heavily medicated Diana to control the seizures and inserted a shunt in her brain to relieve the fluid. They gave her antibiotics for bacterial meningitis, but the infection was stealing hearing in her right ear.
If we don't act quickly, we may never be able to give her the opportunity to hear out of that ear.
The family had to decide within a week whether or not to go forward with a cochlear implant before the inner ear was permanently closed.
We wanted to give her the best opportunity to have hearing.
At just 10 weeks old, Diana became the second youngest person ever to get the implant. The device turns sound vibrations into electrical signals that the brain can recognize.
Mama's gonna be the first one to talk, okay?
The whole family was there as the earpiece lit up and Diana could hear.
Can you hear?
She's looking to the other side more.
Her eyes got super wide and she's just looking at me with that cute little innocence, like, I can hear something.
That's something the family will never take for granted. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield, CBS News, Savage, Minnesota.
And last year, a Tennessee infant received that implant at just 2 months old. She also had bacterial meningitis. Coming up, fallen trees, storm damage. There is life in these trees after all. That story is still to come on Mid-Morning. We're back, everyone. One of the main sticking points in the ongoing auto worker strike is the transition to electric vehicles, which takes fewer workers to make. Ben Tracy shows us the manufacturing boom taking place across the country to build new EV battery plants.
So right now, this plant just opened around 6 months ago. By year end, this plant will be at capacity and we're going to need another plant.
Mike O'Cronley is CEO of Ascend Elements. It recycles used EV batteries in Covington, Georgia, extracting 98% of critical metals that can then be reused, a key part of the new EV supply chain.
I'm really proud to be part of that. And I know a lot of our team members are also very, very proud to be part of that.
In the past 3 years, more than $90 billion in battery investments have been announced nationwide, creating an estimated 70,000 manufacturing jobs, much of it in a stretch from Michigan down to Georgia, now being called the Battery Belt.
So this is a battery cell?
Yes, this is a pouch cell.
Jae-won Che is executive vice chairman of battery maker SK On, part of a South Korean conglomerate. After decades of U.S. jobs being offshored, foreign companies are opening dozens of new battery plants in the U.S. SK plans to employ up to 15,000 people in 5 plants by 2026, including this one in North Georgia, the size of 13 football fields. It can produce enough batteries every year to power 400,000 vehicles.
We're very happy that we chose Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Or why did you say this is where we need to be?
Well, U.S. is the center of auto industry. It's not possible not consider this place as your investment.
Matt Lauer left the poultry industry for the battery plant.
I love North Georgia, so I was very happy that we got to build something like this here and that I got to be part of something like this.
It's also a new economic engine for the nearby town of Commerce, population 7,700.
You know, when you have a company investing more than $2.5 billion in your community, it attracts a lot of attention.
Mayor Clark Hill says his town will build a new school on this old golf course, with payments coming in from the battery plant.
We feel like it's not only going to be good for our citizens, but it's all provide a better quality of life for the whole region.
A region now re-energized by the battery boom. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Commerce, Georgia.
As severe storms batter cities across the country, the debris left behind can often be overlooked as trash. Now there's a growing movement to salvage fallen trees and logs and turn them into lifelong pieces of woodwork with a story. Skylar Henry visits the Maryland company digging up and sanding down the buried treasure.
After stormy weather barrels through parts of Maryland, John Ferrara's crew isn't too far behind.
And these are the ones that were down in the woods that fell over in the storm. That were in the back.
What started as a side hustle with his best friend Paul Timmons has turned into the Cambium Carbon Company. The company saves trees from landfills by partnering with architects, cities, and businesses, salvaging toppled timber and turning it into sustainable pieces using what they call carbon smart wood.
It's like Christmas. Every time you cut one of these things open, you have no idea what you're going to get.
Cambium has one of the largest non-commercial sawmills on the East Coast. With it, the company handles logs most others can't, off of size alone. After the process of power washing and cutting through trees that often measure more than 20 feet, the lumber is off to dry.
This is part of the drying process, right?
Correct, yeah. So this is a kiln that's actually taking the last bit of moisture out of the board.
From there, the stories under the bark unfold.
A lot of times that material is viewed as a defect. And we really like to turn that narrative around and be able to educate people that it's actually something to celebrate and something to enjoy.
Through word of mouth, their mission is picking up steam. They've partnered with cities and towns from Eugene, Oregon to New York City, teaching local operations sustainable wood management and turning what was into this. Everything from tables and chairs to signage and even art.
All of that carbon is going back into the atmosphere. If we're able to stop that from occurring, and we're putting it into lumber, which can make flooring or tables or furniture, we're actually able to harness that carbon.
Creating carbon negative products and environmentally positive solutions. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Arbutus, Maryland.
Engineering students in Europe are racing to save marine life in a pedal-powered submarine. As Tina Kraus reports from London, they hope their journey will inspire others to dive in and help the environment.
There's something lurking below the surface off Spain's Canary Islands as divers go deep to raise awareness about conserving marine life.
We want to propel these submarines in a way that is environmentally friendly.
What's it doing?
Engineering students from Germany are testing their prototype of a pedal-powered submarine that uses spinning fins rather than propellers to avoid ripping up grass or harming aquatic wildlife.
A propeller spinning it's like a knife. We don't want to do that. So we've built a machine that can work in this environment safely and in harmony with the environment.
A scuba diver drives the sub with a sort of underwater bicycle putting it through the paces in challenging water filled with salt, waves, currents, and fish.
All of these things add up to making a real challenge for the students.
It's all training for the launch of the sub racing series next year.
A construir su propio submarino.
Student Eugenia Herrera says she hopes diving enthusiasts from around the world will build their own eco-friendly subs to compete. The races will run at key conservation areas around the world. And no matter which sub takes the top prize, organizers hope nature will be the biggest winner. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Kelsey Grammer is back and recreating his longtime character, Frasier Crane. A look behind the scenes next on Mid-Morning. Welcome back, everyone. The hit TV comedy Frasier signed off in 2004 after winning a record 37 Emmys. Now a Frasier revival is coming to CBS. It stars Kelsey Grammer in the familiar role of psychiatrist Dr. Frasier Crane.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused.
Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged.
I think a sincerely cool version.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
The style of it, I mean, it's real jazz. On the original, the band that I had was literally some of the most respected people in jazz. We kind of blended a little bit of a newer feel.
I miss you, and I won't take no for an answer. Don't sit there! Those are Christian Lacroix pillows.
So we can't sit on the couch.
Not in jeans. What do you say we have a toast?
I got some scotch, if that sounds good.
Great, I'll go get it.
Top shelf.
Of course, nothing less.
No, it's on the top shelf of the hutch, green plastic jug.
Life's calling again. Frasier has re-entered the building.
All right, so that Frasier reboot will air later this month on WCBI TV. All right, conversation with singer and songwriter Nick Cave ahead on Mid-Morning. Welcome back, everyone. In his book, Faith, Hope, and Carnage, singer-songwriter Nick Cave speaks candidly about dealing with his grief after his son died suddenly in 2015. He tells Anthony Mason how his new album was inspired by his son's spirit and how an unexpected connection with his fans saved his life.
Nick Cave has been making music for more than 4 decades.
If I could sail a galleon ship
as a solo artist
to the sky,
and as the frontman for his band, The Bad Seeds.
raise your hands up into the sky. Is it any wonder, oh my Lord?
He's also an actor, an author, even a ceramicist.
Music's a little
atmospheric.
Yeah, kind of lives somewhere. I don't know. I can't see it. Where is it? But this is this little thing that sits on the mantelpiece. You know.
At one point, you say in the book,
Faith, Hope, and Carnage, Cave's latest book, grew out of conversations he had with journalist Sean O'Hagan during the pandemic.
I think that the utility of religion very much is the thing that can guide you out of some very dark times.
Cave went through some of the darkest 8 years ago when his son Arthur died after falling from a cliff. He was 15. In the book, Cave lays bare his grief.
How difficult was that for you?
It was a relief in a way.
I could feel it literally rushing through my body and bursting out the ends of my fingers, Cave says. A kind of annihilation of the self, an interior screaming.
It was a strange experience for me because it was very public to know what had happened to me. Everyone knew about it.
Fans started to write to him.
For so long has my grief been an inextricable part of me. Alison.
He answered on a website he calls the Red Hand Files.
Did you feel the need to speak in some way? You did?
Yeah, I just didn't know how to talk about things, and I didn't know how to articulate my loss. And I basically learnt that through writing the Red Hand Files.
You said that fans, in effect, saved your life?
Yeah, I would say that they certainly saved me a life of internal thinking.
I'm curious what role music played for you in this.
Music for me, and especially songwriting, is a kind of abstract way of articulating loss. Music has that extraordinary potential of taking extremely complex things and sort of packaging it in a universal language that we can all kind of understand.
Glowing circle on my head.
With collaborator Warren Ellis, he wrote Ghosteen, an album inspired by the spirit of his son.
It felt like these songs were sort of reaching towards him in some way.
I am beside you. Look for me. I try to forget.
Grief is just a great big swirling, confusing thing, you know.
Yeah.
And you try and make sense of it as best you can. But when I finished that record, I felt I'd done something for my child.
Arthur was one of his twin boys with his wife Susie.
Your wife's experience was actually quite different.
I think that mothers who've lost children, it's a different thing. It's like a circle of hell reserved for mothers who've lost children. It's complex and primal.
But Cave says she channeled her grief and her energy into her work as a dress designer.
I could see the transformation, which I found extremely moving.
The words you use in the book are that a strange, reckless power came out of your grief.
Yeah.
What was that power?
It's simply that it doesn't matter what happens next. The worst has happened, or at least it seems to you at the time the worst has happened.
Yeah.
It actually may not be that the worst has happened, I'm sorry to say.
Last year, the worst happened again. His son Jethro, by an earlier relationship, died at 31.
It was very, very difficult, that. It was very, very difficult. I think that sense of loss makes us the sort of soulful people that we can be, that we are not when we're young.
Do you feel like a different person?
Yeah, yeah. I think after Arthur died, after Jethro died, after my mother died, these things make you love people and humanity and value people and understand the sort of fragile nature of people. And it's made me kind of love the world more.
For Cave, creation became an act of defiance.
And when I started to do concerts and go on stage, I was sort of stepping into the regard or the love of my audience, and I felt that I needed to give something back. Music becomes a healing force anyway.
Yes.
It's one of the last things we have left, really, that actively attempts to, rehabilitate the world in some kind of way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming along.
And we'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us. All right, come on, big money. The Powerball jackpot has risen to $1.4 billion after no winning ticket was drawn Wednesday night. Hope you're feeling lucky because your chance of scoring the grand prize is about 1 in 292 million. The next drawing for the big prize, the third largest in Powerball history, is Saturday. Here's Vlad Dutier.
Everybody wants a piece.
It's very big. You'd be crazy not to play.
It's an unreal number to begin with, $1 billion.
An estimated $1.2 billion. Wednesday night's drawing would have been the biggest Powerball jackpot of the year, marking the first time in its history that back-to-back payouts have generated billion-dollar prizes. If it seems like lotto jackpots have been skyrocketing in recent years, it's because they have. The average Powerball jackpot has more than doubled in the last decade and is now more than 6 times the average from Powerball's first 11 years, starting in 1992.
Powerball.
Growing jackpots are due in part to Powerball's expansion since its conception. From 14 states and Washington, D.C. in 1992 to 45 states, D.C., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands today. Plus, ticket prices increased to $2 per play in 2012.
Here come tonight's winning numbers.
And Powerball added an additional drawing on Monday nights in 2021. That's not to mention the media coverage.
These are nearly impossible odds. To put it into context, you are more likely to be struck by lightning, get attacked by a grizzly bear at Yellowstone National Park.
Apparently,
yes,
you have a better chance.
Look at you.
A better chance of becoming president.
Can you do that wave?
Vladimir Dutier, CBS News.
Can't win if you don't play, right? If you want a ticket, go get it. Good luck to you. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time.